Hello everyone, this is my blog and I created this blog so that I can share my learnings and how I think on a range of topics. And of course, you can see here two posts. One is Hello World post and another one is a tutorial on gradient boosted decision trees. And in this video, we'll talk about gradient boosted decision trees. But before doing that, let's go to this Hello World post. Here I've added all the resources I have used to understand Flask framework and how I built this blog. So if you are interested in that, you can look at that. And let's get back to the tutorial on gradient boosted decision trees. So let's get started. So the plan is that we'll first talk a bit about gradient descent update equation. Then we'll talk a bit about regression trees, but not in a lot of detail. Then we'll talk about additive trees, and then we'll talk about gradient boosted additive trees, right? And we'll see the pseudo code also. So what I'm assuming is that you have some basic knowledge of supervised learning. You should not be like super new to machine learning. You know about logistic regression and how to learn the parameters of logistic regression using gradient descent, and you know a bit about regression trees and how to learn those. So those are the prerequisites. The plan is we'll discuss a bit about gradient descent. Then we'll see how we can apply gradient descent to complex discrete structures like additive trees model. And the algorithm we are looking at is kind of a general algorithm which has been used in libraries for gradient boosted machines in past. So let's get started. So equation 1 is the update equation for gradient descent. Okay, there's a typo here, I will fix that. So theta I plus 1 equals theta I minus gradient of the loss at theta equals to theta I, right? So this is the iterative update equation of gradient descent, and what it is really doing, if we look at this figure 1, what is really happening is that you can start at theta 1 and you have this loss at this green point 1 L of theta 1, and then you move from theta 1 to theta 2, and this gap theta 1 minus theta 2 is basically the gradient of L at theta 1, right? So basically your theta 2 is equals to theta 1 minus gradient of the loss at theta 1, and then you do that again, right? Then theta 3 becomes theta 2 minus gradient of loss at theta 2. And you kind of keep moving towards this kind of minimum point theta star, and you can see that at every iteration you are kind of moving down. So this is the decrement, then this is the decrement again, So basically in gradient descent you kind of keep reducing the loss as you move from theta 1 to theta star till you reach the local optima. So that's the gradient descent. So the equation 1 can be rewritten as equation 2, right? So you start from some theta 0, then you kind of do your first update on theta, which will be theta 0 minus gradient of loss at theta 0. So this becomes my theta 1. Then you subtract this theta 1. So basically you subtract this negative gradient of loss at theta 1 from theta 1, right? So this kind of becomes your theta 2. Then you expand it, it becomes theta 3. Until the end it kind of becomes theta I plus 1, right? So basically equation 1 and 2 are exactly the same. It is just that the second equation is not iterative. We have written the whole thing, and the second equation is actually the insight and a takeaway because this is what we will be using in our discussions in the next section. So we have seen gradient descent with respect to thetas, and it can also be seen as a kind of a general model. And we start from some model M1, we move to, and we evolve the model M1 so that the new model M2 kind of reduces the loss, right? So this is our goal, but we have no clue how we can move from M1 to M2 because we have not yet seen what these M's are. We don't even know whether subtraction is possible. So that is why I've called it informal here. But the point is, we are making some change to M1 so that it becomes M2, and that change should be a function of negative gradient of the loss at previous iterations M, right? So you can see it as changing M. It may be a subtraction, it could be something else, and we'll see later that this is the correct equation, but for now we are just seeing these M's as evolving models at every equation, right? So for example, even theta, right? If you look at theta 1, it then moves to theta 2, then moves to theta 3 up to some theta I, right? So these are evolving thetas which kind of represents evolving models, right? And because the evolving models are parameterized by theta and theta tells you everything about the model, that is the reason evolving thetas and evolving models are analogous. But a more general thinking would be evolving models, and usually like theta is a vector in like linear regression, logistic regression, neural networks, but there are certain models where theta is expanding at each iteration. For example, in this gradient boosted decision trees, thetas are expanding at every iteration. So it's better to think about evolving models from M1 to M2, then M2 to M3, and so on, right? So basically gradient descent helps you evolve the models. We don't know how yet, and that's the challenge, because trees are not like vectors, right? It has some structure. You have to learn these thresholds, which are usually tuned by brute force, but you also want to minimize your loss function. So these are kind of confusing, but yeah, let's go on, right? Let's see what a regression trees are. So in this tutorial, we will treat regression tree as a black box, but I've just taken this example image from XGBoost documentation to show you an example. Let's say your inputs, this which is X, is different attributes of input: age, gender, occupation, and so on. The task is whether someone likes a computer game or not. And you can see that there are some young people, old people, and all that. And now an example of decision tree would be like the root node is basically age is less than 20. If that is true, you go left. If that is not true, you go right. And based on that feature, you kind of separate your data points. So you can see all the young people in the left node and all the old people in the right node. And you can also get like a scalar value +2 and -1, which is kind of representative of higher score being symbolic of having a higher probability that you like a computer game. And because it's a regression tree, it's a scalar value which we are calling S. So the input is basically in n-dimensional space and output is a real number. So this is a decision tree example for regression tree, and we will kind of treat regression tree as a black box, and this is a helper function which we will use. So this helper function kind of takes X and target value is Y and gives you a tree. So this is at the abstraction level which we will operate at. Now let's take a look at what is additive trees. So additive trees is nothing but this model mi, which is just sum of trees. So mi is sum of I plus 1 trees. We start from t0 and t0 is equal to 0. So yeah, basically it's an iterative process. You have to start somewhere. But yeah, basically this mi model is the evolving model, and it is just a sum of trees. So mi is having I plus 1 trees, mi plus 1 has I plus 2 trees, right? So this is our evolving model mi, and we will complete the definition of the model with a task. Let's take classification as an example. So we treat these mi model as logits. These logits go into the sigmoid function, which gives us a probability. That probability is a function of mi model at iteration I. It also takes ground truth y. These are the class labels, and cross entropy loss is our loss function. So this completes our definition of the model. And once we have defined a model, as in, it's usual to define a model for a task, as in we popularly do in neural network. So this is our model, and let's see how we can do gradient boosting to these decision trees or regression trees, to be precise. Now I have rewritten the gradient descent update, which we saw in equation 2, with respect to our models in context, right? So if we treat mi as our parameters of the loss, then basically mi is basically, we start with some initial model m0, then we make a change, and that change is basically negative gradient of loss at m0. So then you kind of, these first two terms makes m1, right? Now you evolve m1 again by subtracting gradient of the loss at m1, and so on. So basically this mi is basically sum of I plus 1 terms, and if you compare this with trees, right? Let's clean it up a bit. Yeah, now if we compare equation 5 and equation 3, on the left hand side we have mi on both equations, and on the right hand side we have I plus 1 terms in both, right? And because this t1, t2, t3 up to ti, all of these trees are trainable or learnable, no one is stopping us to copy the behavior of these terms to these trees, right? So this t0 will copy the behavior of m0. This t1 will copy the behavior of negative gradient of the loss at m0. Then t2 will copy the behavior of the loss, the behavior of negative gradient of the loss at m1. So basically we have a one-to-one mapping of these terms, and no one is stopping us from copying the behavior of this negative gradient of the loss at mi using ti, right? So what I have done here in equation 6 is that I have just rewritten it. For example, m0 is equal to t0 is equal to 0, and basically this is our base case, and we have successfully copied it because that's the base case. And then I have written this ti is equal to negative gradient of loss at m0, right? So we start at m0 and we find a gradient of loss at m0, and here we have tried to map t1 with this thing, and then we evolve our model. So m1 becomes m0 plus t1. Then again we do the same thing. We find negative gradient of loss at m1. We are kind of equating this, so our tree t2 behaves as if it were negative gradient of loss, and then again we have m2 is equal to m1 plus t2, right? So basically you can see an iterative process here again and again, right? So in every iteration, this is iteration 1, this is iteration 2, this is iteration I, and this is iteration q, right? So basically you can see a repeated structure here, how we can learn each tree. And let's focus on how we learn each tree, right? If we focus on only this ith iteration, ti is equals to minus gradient of loss at mi minus 1, right? We don't know whether ti is equal to that, but because ti is learnable, what we can do is we can do a regression with input features x, and our target is basically negative of gradient of loss at mi minus 1, right? So basically if we knew the target for each tree while doing regression, we are done, right? And I just wanted to make one note here that basically this mi is basically previous mi plus ti, and each tree has its own number of parameters, which is basically number of leaves in the tree. So at every iteration, basically number of parameters are increasing. So let's look at a pseudocode. So I have defined this train additive regression trees function. It takes input x, the class labels y. Let's assume the task is classification, and the loss L, which is basically cross entropy loss. Now basically, yeah, so basically we are using one helper function. T is equal to regression trees, which takes x and y and gives you a tree, and t dot predict x kind of gives you the scalar value, and you can use a sigmoid to convert it to probabilities. Q is number of iterations, L is the loss function, x and y are the data set. So let's start. So we start with initializing a tree list which is empty, and at the end of the algorithm it will have q trees. We start with initial model m0 equal to 0. Then we iterate from I equal to 0 to q. Q is not inclusive. So first step what we do is we find a gradient at initial parameter m, which is equal to 0 right now. Then we use our helper function regression tree, where we give all the features x, and our target is basically negative of gradient at this iteration, which gives back a tree at this iteration, and we collect this tree in this tree list by tree.append. And then our new model basically becomes m is equal to m plus t underscore iteration. We end the for loop and then return our tree list. So this is our train function, and it's a pseudocode, right? Now again, if you wanted to predict, so we have this function predict additive regression trees. Again, it takes the features and the tree list which we learned. So we initialize our MQ to 0, and we kind of do a t.predict for every tree in the tree list, add all of them, that becomes our logit. Then we use that logit, we pass it through a sigmoid function which gives us probability, and then we return the probability, and you can do a classification based on a threshold. If probability is less than threshold, it's a certain class, and if probability is greater than threshold, it's another class. And this threshold can be chosen based on your task or business use case. And also I wanted to say one more thing, that these additive trees can be used with any loss function. It's not just for classification or regression. It can be used for pairwise ranking. It can be used for sequence modeling when your base model is additive regression trees. Basically wherever you have a neural network, neural network which takes input x in n dimension and gives a scalar value in one dimension, which is a real number. This neural network can be replaced by additive regression trees, and basically it could be a use case because first thing is there can be datasets where trees can do better than neural networks. It's an experimental thing, I don't know how it will do. And another thing is tree is much more efficient computationally, right? If you have like a full balanced tree of depth 3, right, including root. So basically to reach a leaf node you have to do only 2 operations, right? So that's that, right? It's super efficient. And another is each node is an if else statement, right, which is basically, so if else statement you can basically, there's a conditional at an assembly language command level, right? So that is one reason trees are super efficient. And if there's like extreme latency requirements, trees are a good use case even if you're doing a sequence modeling. Let's say you have a sequence of 3 letters. Let's say you have image of C, an image of A, an image of T, and these are labels y1, y2, y3 for these 3 images. It's, of course, it's a sequence modeling task. And in this sequence modeling task you have these connections. So the connections from input to label, these connections can be basically modeled by a neural network, or it could be modeled by additive regression trees, right? And because these edges are shared, because these models are shared across each position, it's the same model being reused, additive regression tree is a good candidate. So I will add this video here, and if you feel something is not clear you can comment. I hope this kind of helps you understand the design principles, basically algorithm design for gradient boosted decision trees, and I hope this helps. Thank you.